Good morning, gang. It is a Friday morning. Man. So, most of you are on your way to work, excited for the long weekend. Well, not long weekend, but it's a weekend, right? It's longer than a work day. I know most of you guys are the ones who are out there who are working, not the lazy bums who listen to the channel that sit at home and don't do anything all day. Oh, look at that. We just lost a few subscribers. Oh, well. Which is not today's theme, but, don't forget, don't forego what you believe in to appease others. So there's a little life wisdom of the day. As most of you know, we've had a busy week this week, right? The mayoral debate was on Wednesday night. So I've got a few things to start with on that, a rant to get into, and then so I want to let you know that I plan on breaking down the debate. We had a lot of segments and time scheduled for that, and it kind of got thrown out of the water just because we were allowed to view it. We were not allowed to record the debate. Which is funny because we orchestrated the debate. We didn't orchestrate the actual debate that took place, but we were the ones who were because there's been, since I was on the council, there's been 3 mayor's races, and I think this would be the 4th that have occurred, and we've never had a debate. And apparently there was one years ago, prior, 12 years ago, when I wasn't there. And it's funny because it was we should have a debate. And so I got one of the candidates to do it, then the other candidate, then I started calling around, hey, maybe we should do it at JCC, maybe we should do this. Oh, you're calling with the debate? Oh, it's already scheduled, don't worry about it. What do you mean it's scheduled? I didn't schedule it. And it was this organization, the League of Women Voters, saw that Amy was going to do a debate on a podcast, and they're, scheduling it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, maybe they'll reach out to us because we're part of the press pool. We get more views than the Times Herald right now, which is very funny because I'm sure the Times Herald wouldn't have thought that years ago when I was calling them out for their ridiculous reporting. And so it was just kind of it was humorous, and this is I guess I'm going right into the rant with it. Something that's burning on my brain because we started asking questions. We started we sent in emails with questions for debate candidates. None of them were read. Well, we're going to have a debate, and it's going to be fair, but it's also going to hit the hard-hitting questions. Nope, didn't do any of that. Nope, just kind of, what are your thoughts on drugs? So I've got a few issues with it, but it is what it is. So now it's in a public space, JCC. It was open to the public, and there was, well, we don't know what JCC's policy is, but the League of Women Voters has a no recording policy, which, well, that's weird because you've allowed one person to record. Well, they're recording on behalf of us. Okay. But they're a news outlet, and they're posting it to the public. In a public space. Okay. That's kind of odd that you won't let any other news place record. I don't know. It's one of those things, the Times Herald had a photographer there. And we were given permission to take stills. But it's one of those. Here was the other part that got to me, because I also talked to a few other people, and they're like, it's a public space. There's nobody who can stop you. They physically can't remove you because you're not causing a disturbance from recording. I guess, at hindsight 2020, out of politeness, I guess, is how I did it. Probably unintentional. But it was one of those. It was one of those things. You just. The other thing that got me was I ended up sitting next to 2 aldermen, and then one left, and then another one replaced them, and it was just but I saw there was at least 4 aldermen there, right, which means that it technically should have been published by the city itself as an open meeting, regardless if they were participating in an event. If they show up to an event, it's technically a public meeting, because they could because from what my understanding was, being on the council, they could be having discussions or whatever, right? We were never allowed to meet. I couldn't meet. You could meet one alderman one-on-one, but if you met with more than two others, which means there were three of you, you could potentially, like, you could literally just say all we talked about was the weather. You could record the conversation and say, hey, listen, this was just the weather. It does not matter, because you had the potential to talk about city business or business of the board that you were on. And so, yeah, you could not meet in groups of three or more because it created a quorum. Or it somehow activated public meeting law. So you technically were hosting a whatever, and so you had to have it published so we could. And then they tried to construe it that, like, well, if you had a text message that just, hey guys, the meeting's moved or whatever, that whole text message was technically foilable and was supposed to be published because it was a meeting, because if you had, three or more aldermen on it, like, just notification, you know what I mean? It was just one of those, but they never considered that with, like, email chains that were like, hey, today's meeting is this. It's like, well, yes, it's foilable. It's all foilable, but you didn't have to publish it as a meeting. So I never understood that one. But these are the different rules. So technically, if they were charging money for the debate, you will be required. You would have to allow everybody to come in for free, regardless, because there was three elected officials there. And I believe the mayor counts as an elected official, and he's technically participating in the event. So it was one of those, like, okay, where you, like, now it's an open meeting. Now, like, you're under open meetings law. So even if you have a policy that says that you don't allow recordings, you allowed it open to the public. And 4 aldermen wandered in from off the street, not wandered in, but they came in. Now you're subject to open meetings law. Now you can't stop people from recording. Now you can't do this. Now you can't do that. And technically, stopping somebody from recording is a violation of open meetings law. And that's not just a detriment to the elected body. They didn't stop anybody from publicly recording, but you see the same consequences that the city could face. So, like, if you're an individual stopping somebody from recording at a council meeting and you're not part of the meeting, you can still see the same consequences because you're violating the law. That's how it works. So it's one of those things. It grinds my gears just because we spent probably way more money, like upgrading equipment and stuff, so that we could have on-site reporting and on-site this and that, given that we're the only news channel in Olean. And then, just to kind of be like, oh, you can't do that here. This is ours. Really? You're telling the guy who, like, incepted the debate with the only news channel in Olean that he can't record the thing? Like, he's got 8 times the number of subscribers that you guys do. Like, he's got more reach than the Times Herald does now because they're dying. Like, they're not even printing in New York anymore. They're not even, like, they're going to stop printing altogether, and they're going to be doing the e-paper thing. So it's just, I don't know. It really just, like, hey, not even like we appreciate you coming up with the debate idea. Really, like, who came up? Oh, you guys weren't going to do it. You haven't done it in, like, 8 years. 12 years. I don't know. And it's funny. And then there was, like, you didn't call us. Like, I barely got your email. Like, if you look at, like, the newspaper articles related to the whole ordeal, it just said, like, submit questions by the 4th. It was Wednesday of last week, I believe. And then it was, like, by 7 p.m. to this email address with this subject. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go on their website. I'm going to go on their Facebook page. I'm going to go on the national, the state, and the county ones so I can see. So I went to 6 different places on the internet to see where I can find information. Like, what questions are they not looking for? What questions, like, more specifics? Because everyone was asking me to submit questions that were kind of biased to one side or the other. And I'm like, well, this side can answer it, but this side can't. And I was like, so I tried to formulate questions that both sides would be able to answer. And so it was, like, at least, non-biased. And it's like, yeah, I could have struck at both candidates with a question, but it's like, yeah, but the question would have only struck at one. But even though, and if I fair and balanced both of them out, so I submit 10 questions, 5 went after one candidate, 5 went after another. That's not what they're looking for. They want the question itself to be, be able to go at both sides. And but they didn't have any of that information. The only stuff they had on their website for a non-biased organization was like celebrations of Pride Month. And I'm like, why do we care about that? I understand that the League of Women Voters is a left-leaning organization that claims to be the least biased organization on the planet. Like, you can't say like we are non-biased in any way, shape, or form. Then if there was a group of women League of Women Voters who were like that didn't want women to vote, for example, if there were a group of women who didn't want women to vote, they would have to still help them in whatever their mission is, because that's part of not being non-biased. Like, if there's a group of women voters who are anti-trans, then and then like you also have to support them, because that's part of being non-biased. If you're going to support one group, you have to support both, or you support none. Like, that's the rule. So like, don't sit there. And they were toting, nonpartisan, non-biased, and it's like, but you're not. It's just it's humorous. We get along with everybody. Well, then you also have to support people that don't get along with anybody. Like, that's non-biased. I don't think people get that. I think people like think that, well, if it seems like the right thing, then it also must be okay. And it's like, yes, well, you can do the right thing, but you can't sit there and say that we accept all. I don't know. Anyways, my gears are a little grind because we had a lot invested in this, and we like, now all of a sudden it's like, well, we're gonna take clips from the show, and it's already like pulling teeth to try to get clips, because it's meant to be used in its entirety. And it's like, well, then how do I question a question? How do I argue with a question that somebody submitted? Like, somebody submits a question, one candidate answers it. I don't like their response, so I'm going to review their response to that question. Like, you don't have to watch the hour before or the 30 minutes after the question to be able to criticize a response to a question. And even within those questions, there are like little sporadic thoughts from both sides that just like, you're like, why did that person bring this up? Why did this person bring that up? And it's like, sometimes there is no context for some of these answers, and you're like, well, like, it wouldn't matter if I showed you an hour and a half video. You'd know from the 30 seconds, like, listen, there was no context before or after. Here's the full video, but we're going to review the section in question. So we don't have access to do any of that, which is stupid. Especially because we're the hard-hitting news channel in the area, right? So that's, I don't know. So there's Kevin's rant. Now, for the debate itself, I am working on being able to review the debate, which I'd like to like watch it, make notes. I wish I had a copy of it. It is a pain in the butt because they also posted they could take it down at any moment. So it's like, it's up there until somebody reviews it in a way they don't like it for their candidate or whatever. I just think that's whatever candidate they're choosing, which I'm assuming a left-leaning organization that's already like preliminary amongst their ranks, who I also talked to, are coming out with an endorsement here after the primary, which is fun, or right before the primary, which I think is funny as well. They're non-biased, but they have endorsements. Like, how do you do that? Like, it makes my head hurt a little bit, but it is what it is. But so if somebody posts a response that maybe one side over the other has that they don't like, hey, listen, because I want to do a in-depth breakdown on each one of them, and I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to be non-biased, but I'm not going to tell you that I'm not biased. I'm going to have my opinion. I'm going to try not to let it shed through until the final hours, right? That's usually how it works. Before the primary, I'm going to give you my breakdown on both of them. And then the last thing I got to get off this rant. So, and then the last thing that I'd like to talk about before I sign off today is that you guys are probably like, why, Kevin, we want to hear your take on the debate. And I will give you a play-by-play as well as a summary. But the debate happened. The debate is like when you go to the grocery store to buy groceries. Okay? So you go to the store, you buy the groceries. Like, it's not ready to eat yet. The groceries are in the fridge. The meat is thawing on the counter. Like, the raw ingredients have just arrived. So now that the raw ingredients have just arrived, you're going to have to give me some time to pick it apart, slice things up, start to prepare it, and then we can do the cooking. And then I can serve it to you. And that's kind of how a debate is. You got to give it a few days. You got to give some time. You know what I mean? You go to the store, and then it becomes dinner. Then it becomes something that you can digest, something that I can prepare for you so that maybe it's easier for you to digest. Maybe I have to cut your meat. I don't know. Depends on, because I don't just have listeners that are well-versed political commentators. I have a few, and then I have other people that I have to, airplane their stuff to them because they're not in it. They don't have the experience to understand and break down everything, and that's where I come in. So, but with that said, thanks for listening to my rant this Friday morning, and it'll energize me throughout the day. And thank you for staring at my 7-Eleven Christmas shirt. They were $1 last year, so I got like 20 of them. So, all right, guys, we will see you guys hopefully this weekend on Life22. Title text.